2023 new movie from veteran writer and director Paul Schrader. It's called Master Gardener, and boy, I hated this movie. Let me tell you why I think you should avoid it and just watch Schrader's other movies. Coming up next. Master Garden stars Joel Edgerton, who I think should be in a lot more movies. I think he has an interesting face, interesting personality, and charisma. And he is the gardener at an estate, a matriarchal estate called Gracewood Gardens. He knows everything about plants, flowers, and what's coming up is some kind of charity auction where he's got to, create a wonderful garden. The matriarch of the estate is played by Sigourney Weaver, and she makes a request of the master gardener. He becomes the teacher to an apprentice, the apprentice being her grandniece, who is her family, but she's a mixed blood, we're told. Why does that matter? You'll see in the movie, because it does matter a lot. So the master gardener, who is probably in his 50s, tries to help this 20-something girl out. She becomes a pretty good gardener, but she's a drug addict, and that matters to everybody, including him. He begins to care for her emotionally and, unfortunately, in my opinion, romantically. Now, all the descriptions of this movie that you can read on the internet say, here's a man with buried secrets and a dark, violent past, and boy, is that a Schrader theme. It just keeps coming up over and over again. Most of the time, I like that. It's fine. Here in this movie, it's kind of over the top. When this man the gardener takes his shirt off, we see neo-Nazi tattoos. He's been in prison. He's in a witness protection program. Interestingly, his name is Narvel Roth. You see, he's been in a white militia. He's got white pride and Nazi symbols on his back. But, that's a Jewish name, or could be a Jewish name. So my question is he secretly Jewish, or did he take that name as part of the witness protection program? And it's irony. Well, either answer could be interesting. Just to point that out, the name does come up in the movie. Now, of course, with a movie like this, what's a guy with white pride tattoos all over his chest, and he's got black clothing covering up? What's he going to do when he's befriending and romantically interested in a very young woman, a much younger woman who's a mixed race or she's black? Guess what that movie's going to do? She's going to see his tattoos, right? Yep, that's what happens in this movie. The other catch is the Sigourney Weaver matriarch is having this master gardener be her paramour, her sugar baby, or whatever, and it's kind of gross and it's kind of stupid in my opinion. And then she gets jealous of the grandniece. She thinks, well, these two are romantically involved when they're not. And so, this spoiler alert, but it really doesn't matter to most of you who are not going to watch this movie. Midway through the movie, the master gardener and this grandniece are fired. They go on a journey. He tries to cleanse her of drugs. They do a DIY drug cleanse in a hotel while he, in stark Bergmanian, and this is classic Schrader fashion in stark setting in a motel room, is writing in a private diary. Something that came up in a bunch of Schrader movies, First Reform, for example, and The Card Counter, his latest or previous movie to this. Now, I hated this movie for a lot of reasons. I see where it's trying to be thoughtful. There's a gardening metaphor, letting things flourish or flower versus destroying them, and that has to do not only with gardens, with environmentalism, with relationships, with the places that people inhabit, and so on and so forth. So that's obvious. And by the way, Schrader knows about Christianity. That's a common theme in the book of Genesis, for example, whether you let things flourish and you steward them, or whether you destroy them in some way, shape, or form. And of course, I think Schrader likes the redemption story, this very troubled man, ideological past. Will he become a better person or not? Will he be saved? Or, that sort of First Reform theme, which, by the way, I strongly recommend watching First Reform, because that's the better version of this movie, in my opinion. All those considerations said, I just couldn't take what happens later in the movie. Spoiler alert here. The two of them are involved in a romantic relationship, a sexual relationship. When she finds out about his tattoos, it's not as big of a deal as I would have expected from her. And then she just randomly decides, hey, I'll go have sex with him, which I find to be completely ridiculous. I hated that entirely. Why can't people, first of all, just be friends? Right? Why can't these two be friends? Why do they have to be romantically involved? I don't get that, but also it just seems weird and implausible to me. Another problem in this movie, the villains, they're not set up well. When you see them, they look so gooberish. It's ridiculous. I didn't believe for a second they were violent or scary people. I didn't think they were capable of doing what they did at the end of the movie. It seems ridiculous to me. I think it's just bad casting. I think this is pretty sloppy overall. That a bunch of things like that in this movie. And then, as I'm saying, and actually later in the movie, the gardener goes up to these goobers and threatens them, and it's the most non-threatening weapon I've ever seen in movie history. It threatens to cut off their testicles, but some of these pruning shears that you use to snip flowers. It's the most ridiculous weapon I've ever seen. Not even a weapon. No one would be scared by it. It was a very, very silly scene in my opinion. Please get a new prop there. I'm ragging on this movie. I was bored by it. I didn't, all the intellectual stuff in this movie didn't matter because I found it to be ridiculous in a number of ways. I do like Schrader's movies overall. A lot of them. I've done Mishima on this channel, and I really like The Card Counter, his movie before this. A lot of people didn't like that. Go see my write-up on Letterboxd, but I do recommend that movie. I found it to be really good and really thoughtful, with very similar themes: man traveling around, dark past, in hotel rooms, writing in a diary. Is he going to tell his friends about his dark past? First Reform sort of has similar kinds of things going on in it, so I would recommend those two movies over this one, which I think you should just skip unless you're a Schrader completist. I do hope that Schrader keeps making more movies, though. I actually really liked most of his movies overall, just not this one. I am curious, though. A lot of Schrader fans watch this channel. I wonder what you think of Master Gardener. Is this any good? Is this better than I'm giving it credit for? What do you think of this overall? So let us know in the comments. Please subscribe to this channel for more great content. Thank you. Have a great day.